In 2018, horror got a much-needed shot in the arm with John Krasinski's A Quiet Place. Based on a script by Brian Woods and Scott Beck, and starring Krasinski and Emily Blunt, A Quiet Place was a box office giant, making a staggering $340 million worldwide on just a $17 million budget. Audiences loved the clever story of aliens who hunt based on sound while connecting with the realistic portrayal of the Abbott family. That success meant there had to be a sequel. Krasinski returned behind the camera and penned the script for 2020's A Quiet Place Part 2. While perhaps not quite as good as the first, it was still enjoyable enough to make another $297 million across the globe, a feat made more impressive by the fact that the film was released during the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're a fan of those films, it's easy enough to remember who the Abbotts are and who survived in the first two movies. Still, there is vast world building and lore behind the aliens that you might have forgotten. As A Quiet Place Day 1 hit theaters last week, before you watch that, here's a refresher course on the aliens that can hunt you with a whisper and the world they've taken over. A Quiet Place begins 89 days after the alien invasion. We don't see how everything started, but we do see its aftermath, with the setting looking like the scene of an apocalypse. Surviving humans have learned that the aliens hunt by sound, with their ears opening up, making them able to pick up even the faintest noise. Step on a crunchy leaf, 500 yards from an alien, and you can kiss your ass goodbye. We won't even talk about what happens if you're a toddler outside playing with a new toy. In the DVD special features for A Quiet Place, it's discussed how the creatures were designed to look like prehistoric fish mixed with bog people. These aliens move fast on all fours like dogs, but are also able to stand up and come across like humanoids. While blind, they were designed to have ears like nautilus shells. But what is their backstory? We're not told what these aliens are or where they come from. Instead, we're just dropped into the middle of the action. Thankfully, John Krasinski decided to fill in some of those missing pieces during an April 2018 interview on the Empire podcast. He confirmed that the monsters are indeed aliens, adding, "They're a thinking alien creature, and for me this idea of a predator, this idea of a parasite, this idea of something that is introduced into an ecosystem." While day one of the invasion will, of course, be seen in A Quiet Place Day 1 through characters in New York City, we've already seen the beginning play out in the opening minutes of A Quiet Place Part 2. Here it occurs not in a metropolis, but in the small town of Millbrook, New York. When the Abbotts are at a little league game, meteorites stream across the close horizon. Worried, the parents call off the game and decide to go home, but not even a few minutes later, the aliens appear and start their carnage. Day 89 of the invasion, which opens the first movie, is centered around the death of Bo Abbott, before we jump ahead to the main events of A Quiet Place. That film takes place over 3 days, days 472 to 474, since the meteorites were seen and the aliens, also called Death Angels, arrived. We never see these monsters eat their prey. Carnage seems to be their only goal, and while families like the Abbotts have found a way to stay quiet, it feels like just a way to delay the inevitable. One scene in which the Abbotts go behind a waterfall and talk at a normal volume will have you scratching your head in regard to their choice of home. It's gathered that the aliens, even though they have super hearing, are not able to pick out sounds mixed together. If you put yourself by a naturally loud noise, such as the rush of water, then you're much more likely to be safe. The events of A Quiet Place Part 2 pick up where the first film left off, happening on days 474 to 477 after the end of the world, again over a 3-day period. The scope of this world is expanded a bit now to show other survivors, and by the end, they have figured out not just how to live, but perhaps how to destroy the aliens. Krasinski touched on how the aliens in A Quiet Place are invulnerable and have evolved to be impenetrable. It's not enough to send an army in to mow them down with weapons, as they are highly resistant to humanity's usual way of fighting. Still, their kryptonite is exposed, as their best attribute also becomes their biggest weakness. With the aliens having such super hearing, what would happen if a sound became so intense to them that it became unbearable? That's shown in the first movie with Regan Abbott, who is deaf and uses the high frequency of her cochlear implant stuck against a microphone to cause any alien nearby so much pain that they fall over, writhing in agony, paralyzed, and unable to hurt anyone. Here, they are at their weakest and can be destroyed. This is shown again in A Quiet Place Part 2, when Regan puts her implant against a microphone, transmitting the noise across the island her family is living on with other survivors. Now, it's not just the Abbotts who have discovered the weakness of the aliens, but the rest of humanity is about to learn as well. High-pitched sounds, as it turns out, aren't the only weakness of the Death Angels, though. It also turns out that they can't swim. It's revealed that the United States government has discovered that the aliens don't know how to swim and will drown if they go in water. With this knowledge, the National Guard has been moving people to small islands. This works as long as you don't leave a boat nearby for the Death Angels to cross on. A third A Quiet Place film taking place after this would have been interesting, showing humanity with a fighting chance, but it wouldn't have been as scary as going back to the beginning, where now not just dozens of people, but millions in the loudest city on Earth are hunted down by alien creatures they don't know how to fight back against